wagon to have around the house. The 1974 Volkswagen, covered by VW owner's security blanket.
Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. 2 more weeks until you get your life right. That's right. 2 more weeks until the one crazy weekend here in Las Vegas. It's going to be a great time. It kicks off Friday night with 2 strip cruises, one at 6, one at 9, followed by a car show Saturday morning at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. And while you're at it, write down the room code, which is AVW1C09. AVW1C09 gets you a discount on your room that you book at the Orleans Hotel and Casino. To register for the show, go to letstalkdubs.com. Go to the main page, click on the show link, and you'll go right there. You'll have an opportunity to go ahead and register for the car show, which is $30, or the poke run, which is $50. And you can do both for $80. So I'm no mathematician, but that's how that works out. I want to thank our sponsors for helping out with the one crazy weekend. The Lab, Pedal Works, Ross Wolf, Finley Volkswagen, Sunkiss Graphics, and Damn Volks, the Wagon, and Las Vegas VW Club. So I want to make sure that all those guys get a shout out. Check out their websites. Their links are in the details down the bottom of the podcast. So check out their website. Support those that support your favorite podcast. Also, if you guys happen to be in Vegas this particular weekend coming up that you're hearing this podcast, starting tomorrow, Saturday, there's going to be Vegas Auto Fest. That's going to be happening at Red Rock Country Club. This is a show that is probably one of the nicest shows that I've been to, let alone just in Las Vegas. So this particular show takes place at Red Rock Country Club. It's on the fairways, super nice, real high end, and there's Volkswagens there. So if you guys are in town this weekend, make sure you check that out. Also, we like when you share the podcast. So go down to little dots, all your little friends, all those people. Make sure you share this podcast with any of your VW friends so that they can enjoy Let's Talk Dubs. As of recent, Luftcraft, they went ahead, hit us up on Instagram, said how much they enjoy listening to the podcast on their road trip. So it's a perfect road trip opportunity. If you don't catch up on them every week, make sure you listen, you share with your friends the podcast, and they can listen and enjoy it too. Don't forget, guys, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. On today's show, we got my boys with Ross Wolf in the house. I've got Jared and Jason here, and they went down to Treffin this last weekend. They helped get some information out about the show, but also these guys were down there living it for the Treffin weekend. So I'll welcome Ross Wolf to the podcast today. Guys, welcome to the show.
You're there. Welcome. Hey.
So lots of stuff happened this weekend. So these two brazen individuals bombed down there. And if you guys don't think it's a big deal to drive your car down to Southern California, you must live in Northern California. It's a little bit warm, but it's a little humidity. And the humidity makes a big difference in addition to these huge grades. Between here and Southern California, I've always mentioned on our road trips, we've got this huge grade, which is Baker Grade. We drive through a portion of Death Valley, which is the hottest part of the Southwest United States, right? So it's a car killer for sure, right?
Baker is definitely a graveyard.
And if your car's not dialed in, it's going to run hot. So these two thugs mobbed down there in a 1960 convertible.
56.
I'm sorry, 56 convertible. Yep. And what's the running gear on that?
So that's an Okrasa that's got the stock pistons, but it's banged out with the 74 millimeter crank.
So modern day Okrasa version heads and all that stuff.
It's the Wolfsburg West kit.
So outfitted, of course, with all Ross Wolf.
Yep, running our stacks, running our new pulleys.
Stacks, the pulleys, the whole nine. So you're putting the road test to the new parts.
Yep, that, and it's kind of the first time that I did a major road trip in a shockless beam. So that one's 6-inch narrowed, and then the seats are a little bit different setup in that car. It's a hard mounted seat. It's kind of a vintage race seat look.
Right, kind of a old school outlaw kind of convertible.
Yes, but they're solid, and so it was kind of a question as to how that would go on the freeway for that long of a drive. Yeah,
that's interesting. And so in case you guys are wondering, you're listening to right now. You're listening to Jason of Ross Wolf. So you also decided to take. So who drove the Vert? You drove the Vert.
I drove the Vert.
Jared, what'd you drive?
I drove the 59 low light.
So you drove the 59 low light that you guys may have seen on Instagram this weekend, because the 59 low light got a little bit of love this weekend, right?
Got a lot of love.
Right?
Yes, for sure.
And for being not from Southern California, to show up down at a show in their neck of the woods and get appreciation. I mean, that's a big morale boost, right?
Definitely.
You know, I mean, I think it's something that kind of kicks things into high gear. So the weekend kicks off with a show on Friday, but let's talk about, you guys decided to leave Thursday, right? You guys rented a little place down there. Yeah,
we had an Airbnb in Anaheim that was kind of centrally located next to most of the events. So we left early Thursday morning, really early, to try and kind of beat some of the heat.
Right.
Which, we did for the most part. I mean, it was still really hot. By the time we got to Baker, it was,
Now, real quick, we
110.
didn't get the deets on the Gia you drove. The low light Gia's got what for drivetrain in it?
2275.
So 2275 with
IDAs.
All right, so not your little. So we're like polar opposites cruising there to Southern California.
Yeah, stacks, no filters too. I mean,
Yeah.
same, both cars, stacks, no filters.
Bro, this guy goes bareback wherever he goes. He don't care. So she smell clean, but at any rate, so you guys go down. You guys leave early to get a jump on it. Rented a little place down there.
Yep.
How'd the cars do? And was there any top end shootouts, or you knew you'd get destroyed by the Gia?
I could pass them anytime.
Like your ankle was, Jared, your ankle's cramping up, like staying off the throttle, because you're a tall guy. I'm not as tall as you, but in my bus, I do this move on a road trip where I start inching my foot back and using my toe to push the gas pedal, like that's the cruise control.
I actually set my foot on the tunnel and was pushing the gas pedal with my heel.
Yeah. No. And so you're setting on the tunnel. It's kind of a lazy man's way of just kind of pushing on the throttle, huh? The factory cruise control.
Yeah, it felt like I was riding a Harley with my legs out wide.
Right. And then the Gia, I've had Gias back in my past, right? I mean, obviously I had the Type 34 Gia, but that's a whole different ballgame sitting inside and driving than a regular Type 1 Gia. And I'm surprised that, you guys are in those cars, because I've always felt in the Gia, like the door kind of comes up on you, almost like you're in a bit of a shell, So for me, I've never done a long trip in the Gia. So how tall are you?
6'5".
Okay. So and those seats are in stock locations, right?
They're in the stock locations. They're Scat seats.
Okay, so Scat Pro cars?
Yeah, they're Scat Pro cars.
So you can recline it back a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, any sound systems in either cars?
Oh, heck no. I don't believe in that at all.
Are you kidding me, bro?
No, I had to wear my ear pods with the noise canceling because it was just too much.
It's like
so loud.
Was it loud in there?
Oh, it's so loud.
Are you all solid mounted in the Gia?
Yes.
It's
bro,
mostly solid.
That's not for road trips.
Yeah, I know. It's terrible.
Like the dream is kind of like build your car and then it's your. I mean, we all like to think of ourselves like, this is my everything car. I'll just get in the Gia and go to the store, get milk, and do whatever. You know what I mean? But the reality is, you want to be able to beat on it, cruise it when you want to, but like really have it ready to pounce when it's time to get jiggy in the streets. And then,
I mean, I put 6,000 miles on that car, which I was actually kind of surprised at, because during the rally, they take your mileage down. And when I actually read the odometer, I'm like, wow, 6,000 miles I put on this thing. That's
Matt, the Gia that you have.
Yeah.
What's the story on that? How much of the car was done when you got it, or was that one of your cars you built?
No, I mean, this is another one of my kind of, buy it and mod it to get what I want out of it.
That's the best way, in my opinion.
So I bought it from a guy named Jesse, and he lived out in Santa Monica. Mm-hmm. And so I had met him at a Pomona swap meet, and I looked at the car. There was a for sale sign on it. He was kind of just fielding some info. And so I kept
like what they say on Facebook, testing the waters.
Yeah, totally testing the waters. So I just kept his information. I really liked the car. It had original 4.5 Fuchs on the front, which I thought was, something that I wasn't going to keep if I bought the car, but, certainly some value in it.
Sure.
So I just kept his info and then stayed in touch. And when he was serious about it, he gave me the number and I said, I'll come get it.
Nice. And what? So the car was. How much of the car was the way it was now?
Yeah. So I did all of the suspension and brakes on it. So that's kind of my push on it. Then I've done some reconfiguring, obviously with our products on the motor, and then I redid some of the electrical and put in some of the Speed Hut gauges. I did some custom Speed Hut gauges, which the Gia has the 2-pod.
Yeah.
Right? So I was running the fuel gauge inside the Speedo that is, that's all the satellite.
Oh, is it satellite?
Yeah, it's GPS.
Yeah, I haven't messed. I've seen the Speed Hut stuff, which I thought was there's got to be somebody at Speed Hut that's somehow into VWs, because nobody would normally do that, because I don't think they would think the market's that big. But I think the products I've seen have seemed pretty decent. Have you been happy with the product you've been getting from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think their gauges are nice, and I like I was able to kind of customize the tack. So on the tack, it actually has the Karmann Ghia script.
Nice.
Inside that tack, so it gave it a real personalized feel, and so I was able to use oil temp gauge in the spot where the fuel gauge normally is on the Ghia, because I comboed the fuel gauge inside the Speedo. So those are the things I did to the car. It was, it
wasn't on the wheels. I mean, the wheels on that car, in my opinion, set the car off on a whole nother trajectory.
Yeah, the Iozio.
I'm looking at it.
Galaxies are.
If you guys go to Jason's personal page, it's lug bolt with a 0, and there's a picture of the Ghia when he got it. It doesn't look anything. It doesn't look anything like you got it now. I mean, as much as the car is the same, it looks completely different. I mean, the Fuchs, in my opinion, they're a little bit kind of, I don't know how you say it, on everything, and I think you've completely. And back to what I was saying, I think this is the way to buy a car. Like we're going to talk about how I leveled up with Zorba the Ghia from you, right? But I mean, that's the move. Like if you've been down that rodeo before, that there's the street cred talk, and the Jesse James will get into like, well, I forged my own steel. Like that's how much of it I did myself. But the smart money, and what I mean by smart money is you're going to spend it either way. You can either spend it creating enemies at the body shop and people you hate at the paint place and all that kind of stuff, or you can skip all that and just have the same experience with the dollars, just buy it mostly done, and then kind of finish off the car the way you want, which I think is smart. But really the work that you've done, like you can't, in my opinion, you can't tell it's the same car, even though same color and everything, because just based on what I see different from the kind of before and after, which is what everybody wants to do, right? When you pick up a car, you don't want to be like, hey, you're driving Rick's old ride. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I definitely personalized it to what my vision was on it. And I had originally bought that was actually set number 2 of Iozio wheels, because I had kind of a deep dish rear setup originally for a Ghia
of the Galaxies.
Yes,
nice.
And they didn't fit under that car at all. It was
the deep rears.
Yeah, it didn't go. So I've seen some people with lowlights that have somehow run those. This car, they were hand built. So this car, there was no physical way to get those things into the fenders. So I fought with them, a bit trying to do it, and then I just ordered another set.
A full set or just two more?
No, I ordered a full set.
Because you've got 2 sets of these wheels.
Well, that's the Notch has the other set with the deep.
That's right. Because I was like, I thought I remember seeing the deep on the Blue Bug. I remember seeing a deep lip somewhere.
Well, that was, CIP makes those BRMs with the deep lip. So they make a 6.5 deep.
Yeah, but I was talking on your car. I thought, did you ever run those on the blue car at all?
Nope. Always ran the BRMs on the blue car.
So maybe I keep looking, because I was sitting here thinking that you had the deeps on the back of that thing. But yeah, there's Ghias have no room,
No, that one didn't. I've put 17s on a couple different Ghias now, but these ones were the fit and everything to get them on. Iozio really is tight with his tolerances for that 5x130. So, trying to get them, of course, you got to wedge them in there too, right? So when you're dealing with tight tolerance on the on the whole with studs, because I changed the brakes out on that, I actually used air-cooled brakes. I did a swap out. I actually combined an air-cooled rear hub with Russ's Willwood rear brake. So I had to do a little modification to make all that kind of jive together.
Nice.
But once it all goes together, it's good. I don't want to flat on that thing. That's probably one of the scariest ideas that I had. It's kind of like a bus flat, right?
Yeah.
It's the same idea that you'd be in for a bit of a struggle on that thing.
Yeah, when I had my when I first put the 17 on take a shot, guys, the Bull Run bus. When I put the 17 by 8s on the Bull Run bus originally, I didn't have on the carbon cab. I've got Russell's step down plates for the rear, step down or step up plates. No, I've got the offset with the spring plate, so it uses the stock bus non-cut out with the step down to lower it, and that tire comes off nice and easy. As far as Bull Run bus, you have to take your T-shirt off, preferably if you're on the side of the road, and then wrap the rotor so you can drop the wheel and not scuff up, because they're polished on the inside, it's not scuff the wheel up, but it's like a whole rhythmic wheel removal. But yeah, it sucks, man. And now with new suspension styles that are coming out where they got adjustable spring plates, whatever, they drop all the way. George has the ones that just drop all the way down, so those make it super nice.
Yeah,
so,
I saw those. He was putting those on Scott's.
Yeah, it just makes it
cab, yeah.
super nice to do that. So you guys head down, you do a little drive down there, and then what's the first event that you guys hit?
Well, so on Thursday night we just kind of settled in, and then
Trip's uneventful. You guys make it down there, no problem.
Yeah, no issues. Cars run great. The Vert has a minor exhaust leak that's kind of getting worse as it goes, but it's tolerable.
Right.
It's killing a little power, so my third gear hill run.
So you're probably pushing 35 horse. You're probably 60 horsepower with that kit on there.
I'm gonna guess in the upper 40s or low 50s.
And what's amazing is in this room we're all grown men that drive. We own trucks that have 500 horsepower or 800 pound-feet of torque if you're driving a Dodge, and all this stuff. And we'll hop in a 60 horsepower old Volkswagen and head through the Death Valley to go hang out at a car show. But what's so amazing to me is the way that they matched up the power on those cars to where it's like, even if you're in a stock bug with a 40 horse, like it doesn't feel like it's dying. It pushes the car,
Street traffic is always no issue with that thing,
Yeah.
Light to light with an Okrasa is no issue. It'll hit, on the flats. I was doing 70 most of the
I
way.
think you had 75 down some hills too.
Yeah.
Fight down some hills with some wind.
And a convertible's heavier. A convertible is probably 300-400 pounds heavier than a sedan.
Yep.
I would think so.
So
we made it, got settled in. We got a house with a garage, so that was nice. We were able to park the cars. That was a big part of the Airbnb, is getting a house with a garage in Anaheim.
anymore, that makes sense, right? You're going to go out of town with your classic cars and stuff. I mean, the only part that's kind of a bummer is if you trailer them down. So if they're running good, I think the big thing is if they're running good, you don't have to be to work on Monday.
Right.
Because Sunday really sucks if you have to be to work on Monday, because then you're in a rush. Like if you're just cruising, it's a totally different thing. You know what I mean? So luckily for you, life is Ross Wolf. So you're at the office wherever you're at. So
Absolutely.
So you guys motor down in there. You get a place with a garage, so the cars are on lockdown, everything's safe. But you shoot in Thursday.
Yep. And then Friday morning we get some bad news. So the guy, a friend of ours that ran the support truck, he was driving my truck with all of our, tent and all the product for the Treffin show. He got some bad news that family emergency, and he had to bomb back to Vegas.
Wow.
So without the trailer, we are forced to sacrifice a car. So I drove the convertible back to Vegas on Friday, followed Brandon in my truck, and then we did a swap back in Vegas, and I bombed back to California trying to hit the first show. Jared, he drove to the Garden Grove Main Street show.
So he took the Gia.
He took the Gia, and I was racing back in the truck trying
Now,
to get there.
the reason you decided to take the convertible back versus the Gia was...
I think the Gia is unique, and such a head turner.
So was it planned for like the show? Like, you know what, for this show, I'd like to, if I have to pick one or two, the other to be there, it's going to be the Ghia.
We definitely chose, but we thought it through and decided Ghia.
Well, yeah, I'm sitting here thinking like, well, you did that because the 2276 with the 48 IDAs. That's what I was thinking, because whoever's driving in the luxury van with the air conditioning is going to be like, oh, what happened to you? Yeah, I started listening to this good song and then I just forgot you were behind me. You know, that's what I thought. So, but it was a strategic plan. Like, what car? Like, now you got to pick a car to be on display there. What car do you want Ross Wolf to be known for, right?
Yeah, and both cars, have both of our engine products are they're all over both cars. So, it was tough because I think they're each unique in their own way and kind of showing some of the different things that we can do. So yeah, the convertible was sacrificed. It was also, the convertible was quite a bit quieter. I didn't need to wear the earbuds in with the noise canceling at all.
Yeah.
And
you thought he's already half deaf from coming down here. He can just finish the trip off the rest of the way.
The downside is, we lost the planning of, okay, how are we going to do this in terms of kind of trying to hit weather correct, especially through Death Valley. So unfortunately, we're going through that area at the hottest part of the day just because, we had to get Brandon home. So that was very, very uncomfortable in the convertible. And I can only do it's an hour in that seat for me.
Oh yeah, because you're shorty too. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Yeah, so you're 6'3", so it's got to be like, and they're like early style. Are these early style aluminum buckets?
Yeah, they're bucketed. They're padded, but the side bolsters come up quite a bit. They're probably a little bit too forward for me. We're gonna work on kind of moving them back a little bit towards.
They're super comfortable until 3 hours in, and you're just like, wait a second.
And your legs.
Well, it's an hour in. An hour in is all you can make. We could hit every gas station.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. Now we're talking like, now we're old man talk now. So like, yeah, your sciatic nerve just starts kicking in right about there, and you're like, I gotta keep pushing the clutch in to get some stretch in this hip. Yeah. It's different because you never think about that. Like when you're building a car, because your thought is like, it's all right. It's not like I'm taking this thing on road trips. And then one day you turn into your teenage self and like, I'm taking that car to California and I'm going to drive it. So
we did it, but it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I got to drive the car both ways.
No,
it was really a test of, test of our products, test of
because you just put the new pulleys on there.
Right. Bob Cook actually built the motor on that car. I've told him a few times, and that was the first Ocrasa that he'd ever built. Like it's really solid. It just doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah, Bob Cook. We might talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about. We'll wrap that up as kind of the gossip talk of the podcast at the end. But yeah.
But yeah, so he built that. It ran well. The shockless front beam was actually a dream. I mean, it was that thing is as close to Cadillac ride as you can get, which is just shocking.
Really? Even in Southern California, because somehow every 14 feet in California, they just put a groove across the highway. So when you're going ding, 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 you don't really hear it until you're in a Cruise America RV with a loose microwave. Then it really echoes real loud because I've lived that experience. But yeah, dang, 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 dang. Like I don't get it, But so even with the bumps in the road, nothing drove nice, huh?
Yeah, I was really surprised and super happy with it. I would road trip that car again.
So you leave. So you Thursday drive down to California, end up get the bad news, turn around Friday morning. Treffin is at 4. Not Treffin. I'm sorry. Garden Grove is at 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Which means you got to be there by 1:32.
I think I got there at 3.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know they're really particular on letting people in.
And
because
you had to wait in line outside of the road.
And then last time I was there, I talked to the guys that it's like a quote unquote cars and coffee like we have here. So it's wide open to all the hot rods and all whatever. Yeah. But when the VW, because it's open for classic cars on Friday night, but when the VW guys want to meet there, they all have to show up early and just take over the whole spot. Otherwise, they're going to get all kinds of American cars littered in there with the VWs, which kind of kills the vibe. So now you leave California what time?
I'm not well.
When you're leaving to come back to Vegas in the morning?
11 a.m. is when we decided to start heading.
Bro, that's hot, dude. Like that's gonna be be roasting in the convertible.
That wasn't really the concern given
no.
what happened.
No, hear you. So you decide to take off. So you leave there at 11, which means that you get here by 2:33 if you're flying, probably 4.
I think it was 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Like
so your event's just kicking off. Jared, you're down there at the
Garden Grove.
And then you're kind of like, yeah, listen, it was easy. You just point to the car like, yeah, that was easy. That's a no-brainer. I did all that. No problem. Take all the credit. That's what I do with Jason.
I actually wiped it clean this time.
Did you?
Yeah.
You just go like,
very rare for me to clean the car before a show.
You're like, all this driving, I'm going to go get a soda. Like, disappear. And they're like, yeah, I saw your car. You could have cleaned it at least. Like, I wasn't there. So you get here at 4. Do what you got to do. You're not back on the road till at least 6 at the soonest.
it was a quick swap. I mean, we
Boogied.
literally just, I parked the vert and jumped in the truck again. Brandon left. His car was at my house. So we just basically flopped. I was in and doing 90 miles an hour straight back.
And now you're driving there now on a Friday.
Yeah, but Friday
wasn't bad going
No, Friday
there.
back to LA area isn't bad. If you don't want to be caught.
You were seeing the oncoming side.
It was already pretty terrible.
Yeah, if you didn't get on the road by 11 o'clock, you were going to be in bad shape.
Yeah, we didn't have terrible traffic coming in, but by the time I was leaving, it was starting to pile up in certain areas. Like a baker had a jam in it. So there were several issues going the other way, but for me, I just kept flying back to into LA.
So, Jared, tell us about your experience on Lonely Island of Good Times. How's that going for you?
It was good. I had a nice lunch by myself, and then I went down to Pierside because I've never ever been there. So
Yeah.
I went and talked to Larry for a while. And
Yeah, Larry's a good dude.
Yeah.
You corn dog and son of a... Yeah, that's one of his hashtags. That's all he puts.
Yeah, I talked to him for a while, and then there was a guy in a 70 Gia that pulled up who had Mendiola suspension, 914.
A gray one with a Type 4.
Blue convertible.
Blue convertible with a Type...
With
It's
a
got a
Type
Type 4 motor in it, yeah.
Type 2 liter Type 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to him for a while, and I think I sorted out his heating issues because he had the fan inlet for his oil cooler coming out of his engine compartment. So I was like, you have a Porsche fan shroud, 48s, and you're trying to cool your oil cooler with just the vents through your deck lid. I think you don't have enough air.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's funny. You're bringing up cooling, and we're having this conversation. I talked to George, right? So the upgrades, the VW upgrades, Cal Look upgrades are like, 40, not 40 horse, but late model style doghouse cooler, which removes the cooler out of the way, and then all that stuff. But if you'll notice, every car that had a doghouse cooler on it had like 12 vents on the rear deck lid because it required so much more air to pull through. And I think that's one simple thing that a lot of people overlook. And there's always been the debate about, like some of the Cal guys prop the bottom of the deck lid. Some of the guys, everyone's taboo to do the deck lid standoffs, which, listen, I'm a kid of the 90s, 80s and 90s. That's my way. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, man, I can pull my deck lid off and set it right here on the sidewalk and then somebody can step on it. That's kind of the thing. That's the kind of way that I roll. But, yeah, so cooling is, I was talking with George today. I said, a lot of people probably run a lot hotter because, like, looking at my rag chop, right? It's got a 40 horse style or a late model style doghouse in there, and it's a sealed off deck lid, and it's going to draw way more air than your 36 horse or 40 horse fan that it was designed to have. So
yeah, that Porsche fan pushes a ton more air.
I tell you, you don't really realize how much air those things pull, and I noticed, and what's funny is we're going to do a little Corvair talk. The Corvair that I have has that flat, it's got the horizontal fan. The volumetric suck on that thing, I can't even tell you how incredible it is. Like, I was kind of rev tuning the motor, and it'll like pull any loose garments you have really towards that thing. And the same with the Porsche shrouds, like those things. I was leaving a Finley's one night, and I had a shop rag, a red shop rag tucked behind my battery.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, when you leave Finley, you have to lay down some patch to let everybody know. It's typical stuff you got to do leaving a VW event. Always do burnouts, guys. Always do. Be the one they say, don't be that guy, dude. I mean, you guys can be that. We're older now. We don't do that anymore. But, when we were younger, we always did that. Or we do it sometimes still. But I launched. I'm like, I came out of Finley, and I've got the Type 4 in the Bull Run bus. Take a shot. And I was like, rah! And then I heard, boom! And I'm like, holy crap. And I thought I blew something up. I sucked that rag in, and it went right through the Porsche fan, and it vaporized the rag. It vaporized it. Like when I had to pull the tin off because I thought like, oh my gosh, I really broke something. And I pulled the tin off and there was just red rag fragments. I mean, it annihilated it. So,
Well, there was that, there's a turbo kit that has the air inlet right in front of the Porsche fan.
right in front.
And I commented a few times on, I could see it moving, being pulled towards the fan.
It starts to suck in.
So you're actually not getting enough air in the motor because
you're creating a vortex, right? You're
because the
starving
fan
the
is,
motor
you're starving the motor. So you're dynoing it, but you're not getting all the horsepower.
And I've seen people put a little shield around
they've
it.
now, I've noticed they've now put it lower or further away, further to the right.
But it's interesting how much those fans pull. So you're rapping with this guy with the gear. That's a nice little gear. I've got some pictures of it on my Instagram from my DKK when I went to the DKK meet. It's a nice little gear. It's not 100% my style, but I'm not one to critique somebody else's style. I like the fact he did a Type 4. I'm not a convertible guy, but I like the car. It's a good looking car. I think it's on 17-inch wheels, I think too, if I'm not mistaken, Fuchs or something.
Yeah.
But so you're talking to that guy, you're hanging out over there. But so did you leave Garden Grove to go over to Pierside?
No, this was
You
just
took
after
an
lunch, so
Uber?
around 1 o'clock. I drove over to
Yeah.
Pierside.
Before. Okay, so before you go to Pierside, you go talk to Larry. We're trying to get Larry on the podcast. So if Larry's listening, anybody's buddies of Larry, tell Larry to get that corn dog and son of a you know what on this podcast. So, but yeah, I want to talk to that story about leaving Northern California and coming down there. So you go over there, rap with the guy in the Gia. You head over to Garden
Headed
Grove.
over to Garden Grove.
Where'd you get to park?
I parked right on the road, right on Main Street at first.
In the middle? Did you get close toward the middle, or were you last
I
guy
was in the
toward the
middle,
end?
but then they kicked me out. So then I had to go in the back of the line.
Oh, because you were just like, hey, he was that guy. Oh, these freaking Canadians, man. They just come in everywhere and they park on the wrong side of the street first. And then so you just kind of, came in from the Costco side.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look at all the parking. It's like,
I pulled up. I was just chatting with Shin from Hobby Dubs for a while, and they let me. They were kicking all the other cars out and not saying anything to me until I was the last one. They're like, "Who you with?" I'm like, "Ross Wolf." And they're like, "Well, you can't be here. Get in line."
yeah.
And luckily, the line was still a little short. I think it was around 3:30. So
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where, like, if you don't know, you don't know. And that kind of happened to me last year in the red chop top I kind of rolled up through. Then they saw it was Bill with Let's Talk Dubs, and they were like, get out. Yeah, because I thought, like, no, hey, I'm with Let's Talk Dubs. And then I went, so here's a funny story. I go back out. There's one guy in line. It's like 1 o'clock, right? 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I go back over there, park behind the one guy in line. I park in the line. I'm sitting there for a little bit, walking around, talking to people. And then someone's like, hey, what's going on? Did you bring a car? I said, yeah, I brought the red chop on the original BRM. Somebody's like, what are you doing sitting in line? Go get your car. I'm like, they just kicked me out of here, bro. He's like, go get your car. So then I went and got my car. So after I was shamed, I was then VIP'd. So that's the shame VIP treatment. You know what I mean? So I was slightly redeemed, but then I just had a scowl on my face I couldn't remove for the rest of the day after being shamed. But no, it's a big turnout, man, for, it's one of those things. And I would just love to see the VW scene here get to that point to where, and the difficult thing is, Findlay Volkswagen's a great place. They offer an awesome opportunity for us to meet up every month. If any of you guys are in Vegas, the first Friday of every month, there's a Findlay VW meet now, because a lot of people in the VW world out here are fair weather VW people. And if it's a little hot, they won't be out, or if it's a little cold, but the diehards will be there. The only setback is you're committed. It's one side of town or the other, and people get pretty territorial. And it'd be nice to have maybe an off Friday meet in the middle of town, which would really get a lot of people together. But, the venue, the restaurants, all that stuff's kind of cool for being downtown. So, but yeah, so you roll in, you get a little parking spot.
yeah, they gave me a great one just in front of a patio, running parallel with Main Street instead of parking beside all the other guys.
Nice.
It was good.
So you end up parking. What's the feedback on the Gia? So you got the
There was
Gia on
thumbs
display.
up all the way driving in there from everybody. It was good. It was really good.
He's speaking Canadian, guys. That means everybody liked it.
Yeah.
So, so you come in, park the car, get it set up, and I'm waiting to hear the part where you go, yeah. So I grabbed a handful of flyers for Bill's show, and I went to work. Like,
I didn't quite have them yet.
Well, yeah, Vaughn had.
Oh yeah, Vaughn told me he was taking the red eye down, and if I'd have known you were coming back on Friday,
Right, you could have just.
yeah, because I thought about that after you guys left, because previously to all this, we did the Gia transaction, which we'll talk about, was Zorba the Gia. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but you're there at the event, and at those events, like they would do at the TKP meets, they always kind of pick a couple cars. They'll usually have a little trophy or something like that, and so anything before the end of the event happens. What time do they wrap up the event? What time do they do all that stuff?
They were wrapping it up at 7. They're doing awards at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-hour show.
And then what happened?
And then I saw some guys by the Gia looking for the owner, with a trophy in hand. So I
Nice.
walked up, and it was best stance.
Yeah. Nice. They like the stank on its Hangslow, huh?
It sits well.
Yeah,
Definitely sits well.
it does have a great stance. And what's really cool is like, so now it being your car that you bought, but you made it your car, right? I don't think anybody could confuse it with the car that it was before.
Right.
How does it make you feel to get recognized at that event?
Well, I mean, when I showed up, he's already got the award, and
What time do you get back?
I think I was
7:15 or
No
I-
way.
No. I think it was 8. It
That's
was just
still
after
flying.
8 or so. I was doing 90.
In the
100.
big bus. In the big.
In
I
the
mean,
truck.
listen, he's driving you took your truck.
Yeah, I was in
Okay.
the truck, so I was
No trailer?
I was in the Denali, no trailer.
Okay, because I got a $500 ticket in my truck that shows you what they'll do. They frown on you being in the carpool lane with a trailer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm pulling 2 cars. Like, really, bro? Really? So yeah.
Seems fuel efficient at
Right.
least.
Hey, look, I'm just trying to make way.
So I found him. I parked in the race to get there. Just parked over by the Home Depot.
Is it over? Place is cleared out by then?
It's still a lot of cars there. I got to see
Right.
a lot of cars. But yeah, it was kind of winding down. But he's got the trophy, and he goes, and he's got 2. He's actually got 2 trophies in his hand. So he goes, he gives me the smaller one, which is the best stance. He goes, you're going to be happiest and most proud of this one. And very true. So super, super stoked. The Rare Vintage Air people
Nice.
obviously like the car, picked it. So they gave us best stance on that one.
Nice.
And then he had another award, which was best custom.
Best custom.
Yeah.
Best custom. That's pretty good feeling, right? To kind of pull that off and walk away with that. So how'd you feel when you showed up? Were you like blown away? Like, holy crap.
Yeah, I don't know how things are going to be received. You never know when you show a car what's going to happen, and it's definitely not a standard, right?
No.
I refer
It's
to it
not.
as the Pro Touring Gia, right?
Yep.
Which is not what you see on that stuff, but it was well received. So super happy, and we sat down, had some Mexican food there on Main Street, a beer, and it was
Celebrated a little bit.
Yep. And then it was time to get rested for the next day because 7 a.m. call.
So you're
at
trying to go to
Westwood
sleep.
Wells.
You're on a high now. You're like,
Yeah.
man, feeling pretty good. And you're like, thanks, Jared, for taking all the thunder. Thanks for stealing all. He's like, yeah, no big deal. Like, man, you're really just easy when you take these awards. Like, yeah, no big deal. Just throw it in the seat. No big deal, Jared's saying. So
There was one great inhibitor though to sleep, which was, we're in a residential neighborhood there in Anaheim, and there's a rooster, 2 of them from the neighbors who, boy, right on cue at about 4 a.m. those.
the cocks start cocking
Oh
up.
man!
Really?
Oh god!
In Anaheim?
Yes.
Were you next to some farm?
No.
These were just organic hippies next door. They're like,
they
we're gonna
didn't
have
a
our.
mango tree.
We're like, we're gonna have our own chickens.
A mango tree and 2 cocks.
Wow, that sucks. So that woke you up nice and early, huh?
Yeah.
We'll get you ready for the events of the day. What were the events on Saturday to be had?
Saturday was the Speedwell Rally, which started at Wolfsburg West in Corona. So we drove. That was a little bit of a drive.
Yeah,
but
that's
not
like an
much.
hour away. Yeah, I mean, it depends on traffic, but it should be 10 minutes on a map. But
It was early, but it took us about a half an hour to drive there from Anaheim.
so now both of you in the Gia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
I am navigator now. Not ever, which is good.
Nice.
Yep, I'm shifting the gears, and then we show up there, park right in front, and we get to have a little bit of FaceTime with Ray Schubert, who
So Ray actually puts that on because Ray does the
Yeah.
Speedwell stuff.
Yep,
And Ray, I talked to Ray. He's going to be coming on the podcast soon. So that's a plan. But so Ray
Yeah, the
Schubert's
few
there.
minutes with Ray Schubert is, worth its weight in gold. Especially for us, it's, there's some of these guys that we kind of gravitate towards. Obviously, Adam, whenever we
Right.
can get him. Gary Berg, we did stop and see Gary. That was the first stop when we made it into
Right.
the
Yeah.
Anaheim Orange.
Before the house, we went up there.
Yeah, before we went to the house, we saw Gary. But some of these guys, and Schubert is incredible with what he's done and what he does with
Yeah.
Mark Merrill's cars.
Yeah, he does. He gets to work on a lot of super unique engines. You know what I mean? The Denzel motors and a lot of the early Okrasa stuff. And then there's, I can't think of the other motor. There's like one other motor that there's an early style motor that they work on a lot. But yeah, Merrill's got some pretty. I was up there at Merrill's place
Yep.
for the deal, and he's got quite a collection. And I cornered him too. Like, you need to get on the podcast too.
Well, some of the stuff that Ray, we have talked with him about in the past, some of the Speedwell, they had that supercharger, which, he was actually building at one point and restoring them for people. He doesn't have enough time to do it now, but I mean, he was talking about how you got to set up a motor for those things. And I actually have one that I probably need to restore and put on something, but they're very cool in terms of a blower that's quite a bit more powerful than any of the Judson stuff that's out there, and it's certainly a lot more rare.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting some info on that because I did do a podcast with the guru for the Judsons, the Judson guru, Frank. I think his name is Frank Fiocchi, and he is the guru for the Judsons. But I'd like to get some, and that we may go down that path with Ray on the podcast about those superchargers.
So we got some FaceTime with him. We got our plate. So he does a license plate for everybody. You get to choose your number. We chose number 46, which was available. So it's a nice purple license plate, but there's nowhere to put it on the Gia. They give you some zip strips to try and
to put on an overrider.
yeah, to
Good
put,
luck.
but there's nothing on a low light that you're really going to attach that
Well, you can
to.
put it against the front nose vents. Yeah, you just zip tie it to one of those.
That seemed a little scary.
So tell me, have you ever done this rally before? I've never done this rally, but what's the criteria for the rally?
Well, first of all, it's just a kick in the pants. I mean, this is something you have to do. I think similar to kind of the fun that we had on the poker run.
Sure.
That was the first poker run I did with your show last year, and that was hilarious. This is kind of a similar format. So they start you out. You don't know what the destination is or the route. So essentially, you get a piece of paper that says, "Here's where you're going," and the things that you have to do there, which in this case was all take a picture, do this or that. But he starts you out on a time. So there was, what was the spacing between?
It was a minute spacing between each person.
A minute spacing between each. I think we were about the 7th or 8th car.
How many cars total on it?
I'm not
I think
sure.
he said 58.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think he said about 58 this year.
And those cars were all same direction, same location,
Everybody started at the Wilsburg West parking lot.
but they're all going to the same destinations.
Yeah,
in
everybody had
sequence,
this-
or
1 minute
sequence?
apart
Yeah.
start.
Okay.
Everybody has the same, but I wasn't quite sure whether it was a race or whether it was.
But you were ready. You're ready for a race. You're like, wow.
Yeah, I'm amped.
But the page,
Did you leave the parking lot sideways?
Yes, I
that's-
did.
All right. That's my boy. That's my boy right there.
And the page you
no
get-
class or all class or no class, but we're taking class.
the page you get tells you exactly left, right, straight, right, left. Here's your destination. Take a photo of the car, and then
So
head
now,
back,
when do you
reverse.
finally open your eyes and start looking at the paper after he leaves there in a blind fury, like he's getting recorded
I
for some
didn't-
historic record?
I didn't see anything except the paper and my map on my phone to see like what is the next.
You're-
How far is the next
You're
destination?
focused. You're earning your keep.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying not to get left on the side of the road. Got
I
it.
navigated the hell out of that
Very
one.
very small amount of arguing. I think we did pretty well that with the whole navigation thing.
Missed one turn. That was
Missed
it.
one turn.
Yeah, there's
Just one
always
turn.
there's always this weird tension that starts to happen during something like that because you don't want to like, well, I can't let the guy get in front of me because then if that guy gets in front of me, then I'm going to be behind him, and then it always starts to add that little bit of pressure, especially when there's things you're figuring out on the fly.
Well, where there was 2-lane roads too, I was just passing everybody that I could. Right, I'm just bombing out, and then finally get behind a bus, and it's the guys that run the Prado that.
Oh, Stan and
Yeah.
Steven Stan.
Yeah, so basically get stuck behind him and 2 other cars on essentially 2-lane divided road or non-divided road, but just a single lane, right? So we're forced to go at their pace,
Right. And
so-
they're vintage bus only. Like keep it stock. That's their motto.
I don't know. They bought a dipstick. They bought a dipstick from us. So the path going up there, we see there's this big biker bar, and we're talking just a massive number of bikes. And I think it was we're early in the morning, and there's all these bikers at a bar. Strangely. So Jared looks at the paper. So we have to take a picture there on the way back. But the roads and everything that they took us on through the canyons and everything, it was really good scenery. The roads you can throw the car back and forth if you can get loose.
Yeah, if you get your passenger to stop screaming.
I'm looking at this stuff going, man, you got trees covering the whole, over top as a
Right.
canopy.
Just like Vegas.
Yeah, right. Just so gorgeous scenery to do this stuff, which was a lot of fun.
So it's kind of up in the hills a little bit.
Yeah.
That
Nice.
canyon. Every road said canyon on it.
Yes, everything was something canyon.
Nice.
So we do some picture stops where, basically I let Jared out at 7-8 miles an hour, which is not the 15 that I wouldn't
You just keep
normally
yelling,
like to-
tuck and roll, man, tuck and roll.
Because we're using these opportunities to pass people, right?
Sure.
That's all we're
You have to.
concerned about.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of cars with only single passengers, so the driver actually had to get out to get a picture. So we had a good opportunity to pass lots of cars there.
Nice. So how many stops were there total?
What was it? 3 stops?
3 stops.
There was 3 stops. Once we got to the biker bar, which was the last stop, Jared goes, it's all open from here. And we had kind of passed just about there was only one car in front of us I knew, which was the guy that actually went first in an old convertible, stalker convertible. So I start really throwing it through these hills. I mean, I am flat out through the gears, getting it sideways, just really testing the pro touring ability of this car, right? So much fun. We go barreling past a turn, and I basically kind of lock him up, flip it around, chase, get into the gears, race, towards the correct spot of the turn, right in the middle of the road. Yeah, no, we were on it.
Nice.
For some of it, though, we were following a guy that had a Okrasa that was spewing a lot of oil. So that
It's lubricant, bro. Just to keep everything greasy.
the Kia was covered in oil. Like, just everything had to be re-wiped out. Like,
You didn't see him after that and say, "Hey, can I see your shirt real quick?" and just wipe all this oil off with his shirt. Like, thanks, buddy.
coated in oil, but still fun. When we made it back to the final destination was where everybody has their shop. So we're Rothsport, was it Mike
Washburn
and
Metal.
Washburn Metals, all those guys there are in the same
Dave
kind of
and
complex.
Ken?
Ed and Dave's.
Ed and Dave's.
Garage. And so they put it on. There was a guy cooking brats and hot dogs, and then everybody had kind of open house, which was really cool. So we got to talk to all those guys. And Raw Sports bought some products from us. That he's put stacks and everything on his personal motor. So it was a lot of fun. That was a really good end to the day, and the rally was, and we definitely had big smiles on our faces and got to meet several new people when we did get to the final destination. So it was a lot of fun.
Now, a question I have, because you started Ross Wolf, what is it, like 2 years ago? Maybe about 2 years ago you started Ross Wolf from just an idea and being annoyed buying stuff from people in the VW community and wanting to see better service delivered to those people.
Yes.
How has it been now becoming a supplier vendor and then going to some of these events? Have you been surprised, annoyed? How's the process been with getting some brand recognition with Ross Wolf?
I think people see us really positive, and we're seeing some of our product on cars. That's what the big change is. It's not just, hey, who are you? We don't know who you do or what you do or who you are. There's evidence that we exist out there, in the wild world. So, there was one kid wearing a Ross Wolf shirt too at the event. So that was really neat.
That was good.
Yeah, it always makes you feel kind of good from putting, you put your heart and soul in it. And one of the guys I'm going to be getting on the podcast here, Randy Long, before too long, I'm going to be getting him on the podcast. He started Der Speed Shack, and Der Speed Shack kind of opened and closed and all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's going to be interesting to have that conversation with him, because I think all of us, you're a business owner.
Yep.
I'm a business owner, and we're not talking about Ross Wolf, but before Ross Wolf, you owned your own business. Yes. And so you're used to that, being committed to be everything from the janitor to the CEO and what it takes to run a business. And then when you put it through the prism of like, you've run your own business and then you're involved in commerce in a hobby, and then you're like, really? Like, this is the best we have, which kind of, besides everybody, I think everybody that's in the hobby has an idea like, oh, I should make this, or I should do that, or
sure.
But taking that step into doing that, has it been like, did you see yourself where you're at today, or did you see yourself further, or are you about on track to where Ross Wolf, you'd like to see Ross Wolf be?
I'm not sure. Jared might. We might have
Jared.
very, very different perspectives about that. We haven't had that specific conversation. From my side of it, I don't really have. I'm not in an expectation world. This is a lot of fun, and
well, it's kind of different too, because you're not doing it for the money.
Right. We're doing it for ourselves. I mean, in the end, it's like, if we think it's cool, then that's what we roll with. It is very gratifying when other people, share that same feeling about the products we're putting out there. So, I mean, do we want more sales? Sure. That's the way it goes. But everything happens in the right timing, and when you're ready, to really hit it, then you can go after it. I think we've done really well. We've expanded our product line. We've made some mistakes. We've hit some nails on the head, and really kind of done better on a few things than we thought we would. But overall, my expectation is to just keep doing stuff that we think is cool, and that's it. So my expectation is fairly low. Eventually, once we get going, there will probably be a money expectation to it, because there always
Sure. Well,
is.
Listen, it can't run on love and hugs. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're a little bit hippie, but you're not that much hippie. I mean, the reality is, at some point, it's got to start returning it. There's got to be a return on investment to perpetuate more product line, more this,
Sure.
more that. And that's why I tell my people in my business, like, hey guys, just so you know, money's like oxygen here. When we're out of it, we can't breathe.
Yeah.
We die. So just FYI, I know you guys think it's all about the money, but guess what? Money is how we pay our car bills, fill our gas tanks, and do that kind of stuff. But you want people, I think the key, my perspective from being a business owner is I really want, I try to share as much as I can about the business health with my people, and then give them real insight. I was sitting with my girl at the office the other day, and she saw the bill for general liability insurance, and she about flipped out when it
Sure.
was more than 4 months of her house payments and stuff
Sure.
like that. And I just said, like, yeah, that's what it costs. And if you do the math and we do X amount in sales, it takes X amount in sales for this to be zero, and we made no money. We just did all that work to pay this bill. So it's interesting. But, in the VW, it's funny because in the parts world, right, like you could make one thing, even if you made the best thing, which I can't even think of what it's been. I'm trying to think the most revolutionary change in the VW,
Locking dipstick.
the locking dipstick.
Yes.
My personal favorite.
Yes.
But I mean, like when you're looking at, like, if there's been one thing in the VW scene, one part that's been made over the past 20 years that you can think of that was like, oh, that part changed everything. There have been things like narrowing beams and stuff like that changed a lot, which I'm still trying to get to the history of, like, when the first one was narrowed, because I'm starting to see it a lot earlier than I thought it was involved. When I'm putting drop spindles on a car back in 91, I'm thinking narrowed beams didn't exist, and I go back to 88 and I see people narrowing beams. Matter of fact, Chris Addington narrowed his beam on Rodbuster before it was Rodbuster. There's a lot of things like that. So trying to get some of that history, but I can't think of one thing. And even if you did, let's say you just created the one widget that everybody needed for a Volkswagen, it's still not going to be to the point where it's revolutionary and it, like, oh yeah, that guy, see that guy right there?
Nobody's retiring.
Yeah, that dude invented the deck lid standoff. Yeah, it's game over. And also I think what happens in this industry,
I guess if you can't patent it, it just gets copied.
well, and that's the other part I was talking about. In this industry, there's this real, like, oh yeah, so-and-so's doing drop spindles. Oh yeah, so-and-so started doing them last week. And then that guy's doing them too. And then this guy's doing them. So it's like one guy gets an idea and then everybody starts just knocking it off. Like you start to see now the suspension guys out in Brazil that make the A-arm suspensions for the buses and stuff like that. People are, what's that?
Oh, you have the card on it right there.
Yeah. Ilmore. Yeah. Their people are buying their stuff and then bringing them here and copying them and, whatever. And it's always interesting that, in this world, I don't think there's one product that could retire anybody. I don't care how successful it would be.
Right.
And I also think that, that's the crazy part. The VW scene, there's so many facets to the enthusiast, right? From stock to vintage to thing to, and every car is a different type of person. Like the thing people are different, type 3 people, like, and then you get the hybrids, like guys like us that have a multitude of different stuff in collections. We're not really accepted in any of the groups because they see us as like, oh, well, you're not really a type 3 guy because you've got one of these also, whatever. But it's I don't think there's one part you can do or one thing you can make, but I think there's always improvements to what's available on the market, and there's so many things where things start out as a good idea, and then by the time it gets watered down, somebody put their heart and soul building something, it gets ripped off by everybody else, and they just give up, and then all you have is the bad copy everywhere,
Well, I mean, that's a lot of we talked about that before, but that's a lot of what's out there is just bad copies. You see that you just don't know where they actually started from in terms of what they were making it for.
Yeah,
even,
I didn't even know that Tiger did the original turbo tuck that went up under the fender that everybody copied from him, but he did the original turbo tuck, like the tuck up in the fender exhaust system, which, like he was building that, and I've been to his shop and it's like, you're talking like he makes every header that's there. Sure. You know what I mean? Like it's a bit of a process. And so, it's unique. I know that the product line you guys are working on is pretty good. I want to get into that in a little bit, but let's wrap up the weekend. So you guys wrap up the Treffin.
Not
Treffin. I'm sorry.
Wrap up the rally.
The rally.
And then
anything going on Saturday night?
Well, we got to set up. So from 3 to 6, we can actually get the car in and get our booth set up. Do everything so we don't have to do it in the morning.
Right.
So we head over to the Phoenix Club, get everything set up, get the car sorted out. I wipe off some of the oil from the day.
And then we got to go check out some of the cars, which we rarely get to do at car shows, but behind a table all day.
That's the thing, like when I started the podcast, like, well, I got to go out and promote the podcast. And it's crazy because I don't even know why I'm promoting it, because it's not like I'm making a living from it, but I go and promote the podcast just so I'm in a location. People want to buy a shirt, they can buy a shirt. look, I already spent $1,000 to drive here. Like, you're going to buy 6 shirts. It doesn't matter. But I'm just doing it for I'm doing it for the hobby. You know what I mean? Like, I do it because I love it.
And you can get some content usually.
Yeah. My favorite is really doing the live podcast at
Sure.
the events because, you get people walk up, and I had shirtless dude that does the, that was unique, Like, if I have video of that I need to release. But
he bought some screens from us.
I can't
right before he went to your
right before he peeled off his shirt, oiled
yeah.
up, and we did a podcast. Yeah, I've got video. I think I have video of he and I having a podcast. But it's I love the hobby so much, and sometimes I really get bummed out when I go to a show and I feel like I never got to see the show. So that's a nice advantage. You guys get to go kind of take a sneak preview, especially at Treffin, right? Because Treffin's got some crazy rare stuff.
And we got to meet Mark Merrill.
Yeah,
spent some time with us.
Yeah, Mark's definitely a knowledgeable guy that's really into the hobby.
Yeah, we were checking out his Schmo wagon, and he came over and started showing us every piece of it and how everything worked, and how Hans had to open the deck lid and drop the propeller, and Hans had to pull start it and do everything. It was good.
So did you enjoyed getting to chat with him for a little bit? And it's like, when you go to his open house, he's so busy.
Yeah, you're not going to get him.
Just being around there, you don't get any FaceTime with him. So, I think it's pretty. I would have loved to go this weekend with you guys, but it was my son's birthday.
Yeah.
We were celebrating, so unfortunately, I was like, "Son, for your birthday, do you really want to go to the Treffin?" He was like, "The what, Dad?" And I'm like, "Never mind, never mind, son." Yeah. So. You get to go to Treffin. What's the coolest thing you saw at the Treffin? Anything mind-boggling? Anything like, holy crap, that thing is so nice.
Well, I think for me, the same car that everybody's been kind of going crazy for is that turbo compound built. The split was pretty sick.
It's funny. Pip's always sneaking stuff out where you're like, what are you gonna another split like this, and this, but he always seems to do a little something different just to keep it interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that car was really cool. Not sure. I didn't get to see very many of the buses, so
I went to go look at Compound Built on Instagram, and I put compound exercises. Clearly not something I subscribe to. So you saw the split, and then any cool buses.
They were everywhere.
That's
the thing. It's a bit mind-boggling. Like everything there was
even the double door with the firewood stacked up.
Oh, that was so cool.
Fully stacked up with firewood inside.
Yeah,
it was just a chainsaw out front, and
the display was incredible.
Display.
Really,
total lumberjack display. It was great.
You weren't like, Jan, like that's the 14th split one I've seen or barn door I've seen all day. Could you guys come up with something fresh? Yeah, there's a lot. There
was the 2 Schwimmwagens, and then, they had the military vehicles in there. There's 2 Kubels and 2 really, really early Beetles, with the warhead lights and everything, little slit warhead lights. So those were really cool. One of those got pushed out, I believe, that didn't drive, but still very cool to see something that old. But just overall the cars that we saw, all of them seemed to be a bit mind-boggling. And even right next to us was this really cool low-light convertible that was just original, everything original, and it was black and really, really pretty neat. The guy told us a story of how he bought it. An old lady had it. Her father gave it to her. It even had her nameplate on it. And when he backed it out of the driveway, the nameplate fell off. And she's like, "Oh, well, that's an omen."
Oh, wow.
So it was cool. And then the guy said that he picked that up in Northern Cal, and then he was driving back and he knew where a 59 coupe was. Yeah. Or a 59 another low-light Gia, and he actually bought that too on essentially the same trip. So within a day of each other, he got matching 59s.
Nice. Yeah, that's It's a sickness, you know. I think we speak from experience where it's like, you know, you get into these things where like you get one and then you're like, oh, I can find another one. I'll grab. I can get this one, and you know, like, why I should have one of two. And your wife's like, why? And you're like, well, because I need one, and the other one goes with it.
Yeah.
Well, how many can you drive at a time? That's the most annoying question.
It's like dish sets. You
Yeah.
know, like,
How many can you drive at a time? Like, what do you mean? How many can I drive at a time? That's, you know, the answer. Don't
get-
play these Jedi mind games with me. You know the answer to that question. But it's just one of those things where it's like you really look forward to, like, if you can pair up a set, you know, like here at the garage right now, because, you know, I've got Future Shock, the Notch up there, and then I've got Rag Chop in here, and it's like got this cool like 80s vibe going on in here. You know, sometimes I get a silver suit with a red V on the front. And I just robot dance in the garage by myself with some Terminator glasses on. But it's certain things go together like peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? So if you got a 59 and you go pick up a 59 Gia, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
You know, so after that, you got how were you received? How did Ross Wolf get received at the Treffen?
I think it was outstanding. I think
Was it?
We met all kinds of great people. Got to meet Lizard. That was cool.
Yeah.
Hadn't met him before. He came over, checked everything out. The Volks Gallery. He came over, bought a lot of stuff. It might be some relationship that we have with him moving forward. And then he's got some Bob Cook cars as well, right? So he's got that double cab, which was there at the show. Ceiling wax red double cab, and then he had his 23 window. I think he had a Beetle there as well. So it was really cool meeting them, talking to those guys, and then
Long talk with the guy from Footwell, Fab.
Foothill
Foothill
Fab.
Fab,
Oh,
yeah.
Aaron.
No, not
no,
Aaron.
the guy that works
Oh,
for him.
why can't I think of his name?
The guy with the brown on brown flamed Beetle that I'm in love with.
Yeah, I thought it's brown. I thought it was green. It has like purple flames on it.
No, it's brown flames with like a goldy brown base color.
I gotta look at it. Yeah, I know who you're. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know why I'm at a loss for because I'm over here searching stuff on the internet while you guys are talking. So,
But we sold, you know, a lot of product. Did really well. Things were well received. We sold out of our shift couplers, the early shift couplers. There was a spot where it was like a machine gun going off. Guys like, oh, shift coupler, and it was just guys. Yep. They couldn't get their money out fast enough.
and what are you
basically
selling the
blew it
shift coupler for?
up. $35.
And what is a stock shift? What does the high performance urethane shift coupler sell for?
I don't know, probably $12.
So, the fact that people won't pay is not a true statement.
No, I mean they can see that it's a quality piece, and it was funny because there was some.
Yeah, Scott. That's Scott's book. I don't know why I'm colorblind, bro.
Is it brown?
Yeah. I don't know if it's brown. Bro, I'm colorblind. Come on, stop it. You can't
Maybe a dark
ask me.
burgundy.
Yeah, maybe it's like that because it's emulated after a hot rod. Because all those guys worked at a hot rod shop. If you listen to Aaron
SoCal,
Broughton's
yeah,
podcast,
SoCal
you know those guys are all from SoCal Speed Shop days. But Scott's got a pretty rad car there. So he had it out.
No, we were just talking about it and then talking about all the other builds and stuff that they were doing. Is kind
Yeah,
of neat to talk about.
I know he's been
Talk shop with a shop guy.
I know he's been dragging to get that thing out. He's been working on getting it, quote unquote, back on the road. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back out there at the next event. Well, the next event's going to be my event. Well, the next event's AutoFest this weekend. But you guys gonna be at AutoFest this weekend?
I think we're gonna walk around.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to be set up over there. So I'll be over there, set up and hanging, and then. So you wrapped. So we're not done yet. So you wrapped up with the Treffen. Treffen was pretty well exposed, well received.
Yep.
Didn't get a bunch of stock snobs come by like, oh, poo.
No, just the opposite. And then one of the funny things too was when we were leaving here, we've sold a lot of Type 3 distributor clamps. It's been a really good product, just probably because it's unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at each other, and Jared goes, "There's not going to be any Type 3 guys here. This is a Type 3 show." So
Right.
just,
It's 50
I thought it was vintage.
No, it's
stock,
59. It's 59 and earlier.
it is, but first I think it wasn't the first guy, but it was in the first wave of people. This guy, we still had the clamps kind of sitting out there for display, and guys go, "Oh, this is a Type 3 clamp? Yeah. Oh, I want to buy that. I'm like, I didn't bring any.
Oh, really? You're thinking like, why waste the fuel hauling those heavy Type 3 aluminum clamps down?
And then the request for Type 3 clamps.
Yes.
kept
Oh, it
on
just started to
coming.
come. Yes. They kept coming. So
Really?
I actually sent a few of those out direct to guys.
Nice.
That was cool.
So received pretty well. Everything went good. Nothing super exciting. Go ahead. I see something exciting happened. You
Well,
guys get into a battle?
we got a
battle on the
trophy.
street
Yes, there was another
We
trophy.
got another
involved.
trophy.
at the Treffin.
Yes, well, technically for the rally.
Best
So,
vendor. Go ahead. So you
best looking.
at the rally, you got a trophy at the rally.
Yeah,
huh?
so we basically got the best rally car trophy, which was a handmade trophy by Ray,
Nice.
handpicked by Ray as our car. So that was really, really cool. So yeah, one of the first awards that came out at Treffin when they were doing the announcements was that, and really super meaningful to get that from Ray. It was really
So it was a
awesome.
huge weekend for you, man.
Yes,
Like just all
for
this,
sure.
all this kind of. Hey, I'm not that big of an idiot. Like people kind of like what I do because, but as much as we build our cars for ourselves, we think like I have a vision that I really like, and it'd be cool if other people like. I'm not doing it for other people, but it'd be cool if other people thought it was cool too. Then it's a little bit of an affirmation, like, oh yeah, your stuff is pretty cool. You know, it's a good feeling, man, when that stuff happens. Especially you guys being from the Pac Northwest, and then you from another country. But I mean, listen, we're gonna let that slide right now.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Listen, any single girls out there need to get it. Listen,
We're working on
my
it.
boy needs some papers. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Let's do the right thing. I mean, look, I'll give you $3,000, $3,000, and he cooks. He doesn't take up much space.
He does.
He can fit in a Gia. You know, so.
It's not much difference now because we came down from Montana,
Right.
So because I moved up there and he's still kind of cooking and doing that stuff in the morning. He's like, you want an egg sandwich? And I'm like, yeah, well, hell yeah, I want an egg
Right.
sandwich. so you're not far off with
Nice.
he keeps a
He
pretty
cooks,
good
he
house.
cleans, man. Keeps a pretty clean house.
I'll eat from him any day. He's a good cook.
And how you liking your stay here in the U.S. there, Jared?
It's hot.
Oh my God, that's all you have to say. What about
I'm not
freedom?
made- I'm not
what
made for
about
the-
freedom?
I'm not made for this weather.
What about being able to go outside and not get arrested? You know what I mean? Isn't that what they're doing in Canada right now? I'm pretty sure.
Free domain free.
Listen.
$1.05.
That's it. It costs 105 degrees is what it costs you. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the AC's broke in the shop right now.
Well,
so
listen. I went by there and you guys were sweating like sweat hogs over there. I was like, this is out of control. Somebody pay a bill around here, I said. But so you're now coming down here. So now you're staying here in Vegas. Now you're ultimately, now just out of curiosity, because I'm sure almost no one wants to know except for me, but what's let's say you want to move to the States. Let's say you want to move to the States and follow some sort of legal format.
Yeah.
What does it really entail for you? Is it an ordeal?
Yes.
So it's like time, like how much time would it take? Like if you follow the process and do everything like that, what's the typical timeline?
3 to 5 years.
So 3 to 5 years after you submit an application.
Yeah.
Now I talked to a friend that was thinking about moving to Canada. They were crazy anyway. But they said to move to Canada, you have to have a job when you go there,
Yeah.
B, a minimum of $10,000 in the bank, and then an entire plan of who you're going to live with, who's your sponsor, like all kind of stuff. Same thing here?
I think they do a lot of the same things.
Yeah. It's
Do
pretty well
they?
the same.
We've got to get down that road at some point.
yeah.
Because even right now, I mean, I'm doing a job for a guy that's in Canada, and he's like, involved with high rises there, and I'm remodeling a high rise for him here, and he's like, I got to bring my countertops down. I'm like, bro, you're not saving that much money. You know what I mean? Like by the time you calc the gas from BC, Vancouver, BC is where he's at.
Yeah.
By the time you calc the gas of a truck and trailer hauling 2,000 pounds of granite, unless he's getting it literally for free, even after he gets it for free, he's paying about 70% of probably what it would actually cost. But he can't get across because they won't let anybody come across driving. He can fly here all he wants. He can't drive across the border, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like that you can fly over, but you can't drive. But I don't know, man. Go figure. Hopefully hopefully they'll get it all straightened out here in the next little bit. But
I hope so. I want to drive some stuff down.
yeah, so you're down here looking for ladies. I gotcha. So yeah, any ladies out there looking for a Canuck? He doesn't have a bad spread to stay in right now. So like at least for the next couple months, you'll be living like a queen. After that, could be the queen of the trailer park. But listen, whatever, it is what it is, right? Love, there's no cost for love, right? So. So what I want to touch bases on, we talked about like with you buying the Gia and getting stuff that's kind of painted and already done.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about Zorba the Gia, right? So nice. I've been telling everybody, I bought a Gia about 2 years ago. I went up to Kalispell, Montana, bought a Gia because I needed to get another Gia. And after I sold mine, everybody raised their prices, jerks. And I go up there, get that car, and then this car. Part of the challenge when you get a car that needs that much work. And what I mean by that much work, like a full paint job. And it's like, okay, well, you can't spend $1,500 on a paint job, right? Because it's not like you can't even pull that off anymore. And then when the car needs some metal work and it's a Type 34 Gia and it's one thing if it's a bug, but even still with Volkswagens, like you take it to get body work, stuff like that. You got to find the right guy that does it right. Just like upholstery, right? You take the wrong seats. Next thing you're sitting on a lazy boy, and you're like, "What in the world is this seat?" Because you go like, you see the way they stitch them down, like Pip's guy down there does them, and Lenny and those guys do them. They're like tight as a drum, not overstuffed. And then every time we go here, they're like, "No, I put extra padding for you, man. You like that?" That's like you're like extra padding. Like I didn't ask for extra. No, I was real comfy. Like okay. All right, and that was my accent of the guy from Zirkistan. So a lot of Zirkinstanians doing upholstery out here in Vegas. So anyway, stereotype. I didn't make it up; it just exists. So, getting one of these cars, it's like so. The first thing I did when I bought it, I did the hardest part. Right, I just went online and ordered every part they make for that car, and I was like, oh, okay, like all the rubber and the replaceables, right? The quarter and all this stuff, and thought, all right, bro, I'm going to kick this off. And since I bought that car, there's just been this series of bull crap that's popped up in my life. I don't even know where it comes from. Like somehow I bought a limo bug, right? Bought a limo bug. Then I bought the rag chop. Then I bought all these things, had the square back. And then,
but you bought those things after you agreed to buy Zorba. I mean, it's been sitting in my garage with an agreement for a long time.
It was actually because I thought, and so what I'm talking about here is the level up game, right? Like there's always buying the car, right? So you always start like, oh, there's a great deal on this blah, 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 61 convertible, whatever it is, right? You go get it. And you're like, oh man, it was great. It was a good deal, but crap, it needs everything. And everything in this world, and if you haven't accepted this yet, you really need to think long and hard about it. Everything is time and money. You either put the time in it or you have the money to do it. And when you don't have time, you need to have the money. And so when you're looking at that, you're looking on the barrel of that gun. It's like, all right, well, and anybody that's built a car has gone through all the heartache. So when Jason called me, about a year and a half ago, and you're like, hey, dude, I'm going to be selling some cars. And I was at his house and jokingly said, I didn't even know he had a Type 34. I had a Type 34 sitting there under the rack. And I'm like,
well, that's not true.
Well, no. What I'm saying is until I went to your house, that's when I saw you had a Type 34.
No, the first time that you saw that was the car that I should have bought, which was with
my Gia. That's
Gia.
right. I came over.
You brought it over. I wanted to buy your Gia. And you threw out a big number and kind of a low number on what you're going to, we were kind of going to do a trade. You were going to take my blue Gia, and then I was going to take that. And I wanted the deal. And I've thought about that deal a few times over the years. Like, we should have kind of come and hammered that out because it would have been what each of us wanted.
Yeah, and that car, even if the guy who paid what he paid for it when he sold it, and I sold it for $70, the guy that paid $70 bought a $100,000 car for $70,000. You got $30,000 off. And then after the $6,000 tune-up that I did, which is like I took it to Adam's place, we found out I squared a piston, and then I'm over there talking. You know those EFI guys. Dino Dave was over there, and he's one of those gabbers. He's like, yeah, I don't know why you're using this SDS system. It's just pretty much garbage. You need to do this, and this, and you should just get a Motec on here. It fixes everything. So then I just did a Motec, and Motec was like, it's like $4,000 just right there, $4,000 for the Motec. But now that Gia, push the button and it just fires. You know what I mean? Like no choking, no sputtering, no anything. And I mean that car. there was a lot done to that car, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know, but
I was a little scared when I drove it. It was just there was a few things I was like, do I really want to get into this? And the fuel injection thing kind of scared me a little bit. I was like, God, I'm gonna have to learn a whole bunch of new things on this. And I was just re-entering at that point, right? I was just re-entering Volkswagens again, right? And
it's a big ticket car, and you're thinking
right.
like, you know what? And then realizing that, that car.
I kind of missed out on
it. Changed the market a little bit, because as soon as I sold it, that's what happens when one car goes for a big number. Everybody's like, well, funny story is I recently got a call from a guy. He's like, hey man, I heard you want to buy a Type 34 Ghia. I'm like, yeah, sure. What is it? So the guy sends me a picture of one, and this thing it needs a lot of work. And the guy's like, and I looked at it, and I discussed it with the Council of Type 34 Ghia people, and we agreed that a running driving Type 34 in needs everything condition, like needs a full resto, which is 85 to 90% of them. I said a running driving, like paint's not like it's on a 5 scale, it's a 2 car, like it's just like it's a running beater. It's a 10 grand car, 10 grand. Guy sends me a thing, and I look at it. I'm like, yeah, it's a 10 grand. It's hard to get a 10 grand car, but it's a 10 grand car, right? Guy says, oh, it's $18,000. And I said, well, how much rust does it have? And he goes, it needs everything, man. Maybe you don't know these cars. This is what they sell for. And I just said, okay, no problem, buddy. I looked at the picture, and I thought, because for a second there was this glimmer of hope in my, like, this one's running and driving. Then I saw the pictures, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And this was, I think right after you and I hammered out a deal on your Ghia that you bought. And so your Ghia, someone called me on the Ghia that I just got on Zorba the Ghia, which she shall be known from this point forward, as Zorba the Ghia. Wait, you don't even know, bro. I'm not even kidding. Wait to see what I do with the interior. You wait. Now, yeah, love it or hate it, but you're going to do one of the two. You're on one of those coins.
I see a big blue plus sign. That's what I see.
So I'm keeping it low key until the car's out on the streets. But he calls me up. We talk about a deal in the car, and I'm thinking like, that's the move for me, because if I get that car, it's got the assembly portion needs to be done. It does need some repaint, some paint fix, and some stuff like that. But with the color being the color it is, it can be matched. Like it can be matched and spotted if I needed it. Yep. And I thought, that's such a shorter hill to climb than I like the other Ghia is like me at a body shop fighting with someone in a little bit of time. And I've had one car abducted in a body shop, and I'm still reeling about it a little bit, but that car is still coming out one day or another. It's all there, just needs to be, little pieces and parts done. So, the moral to the story is like, when you get a chance, and especially in the Type 34 world, when you get a chance to level up, you level up. Because if today someone said, hey man, I got one for $25,000 and it's 3 clicks above that one, I might be like, wait a second. You know what I mean? Because they're always money in the bank. Like they're always like, you can always sell them. There's always somebody looking. Problem with the one that the guy called me about is he was trying to flip it. Yeah. I'm not saying I killed his deal, but I killed his deal. Because what upsets me in the hobby is when people, like, he wasn't trying to flip it for $1,000. He was trying to double his money. And to me, it's upsetting because I just heard about one that got sold recently to a guy that just picked one up, and I thought, and I was talking to a third-party person. I said, oh, did you see that car so-and-so got? I said, yeah, somebody bought it and then added X amount of dollars to it and sold it to that guy. And I just thought, like, it's so annoying because that's the stuff that makes the hobby not so fun, when things that should be affordable. And, the Type 34 Ghia, it's a rare Volkswagen. People are starting to really get the idea of it. But you shouldn't get hosed on stuff like that. I mean, I have no problem with somebody making a little bit of money on something, their time or whatever. But if you're just trying to flip it, then you're no different than a used car salesman. Now, if you got a good buy, like, I don't care what you bought it for. If you're overcharging for it, that's where I got an issue with it. So, that car was worth. He was asking about half of what he was asking, double what he was trying to buy it for to sell it to me. Like, not even touch the car and double his money. And I was pretty interested about that, but. Luckily I was doing some search on the internet and I stumbled across the actual owner of the car.